Don't cut your hair, grow it long. She likes it longer, Andrew.
No, that's what does Muriel say? She said, my hair, at one time, we had come back from Colorado and I was out running trails all the time. I hadn't got a haircut for probably 5 months. And so my hair was really long in the back. It was not quite mullet-like, but it was long in the back. And what did she say? Oh, she said it was, because I would comb it straight back, so she'd say it was business in the front and party in the back. So we're not going back there. I'm going to get a haircut, yes.
Well, the many different hairstyles of Mr. Andrew Lessman over the years. We're going to keep on going, again, with some items that you don't regularly see. Andrew, excited to talk about this.
This is something, if you went back, gosh, again, dating myself, you went back 30 years or so, the two most popular supplements in supermarkets and pharmacies were a product called, I believe the ginseng product was called Ginsana.
Okay.
I think the Ginkgo product was called Ginkgo. I believe they were even potentially more popular than the leading multivitamins at the time. So, and they were very costly. Right. So what we've done here is we actually have double the potency of Ginkgo, of the original formula. So we have, this is a product that delivers the two most popular Chinese botanicals, which are ginseng and ginkgo. And in terms of an adaptogen, in terms of something that helps in terms of dealing with fatigue and things like that, adapting to the stress that life hands us, ginseng has been at the top of the list of adaptogens for probably not just a few decades, but for a couple of thousand years. And ginkgo is something that clinical research and science has supported its benefits in terms of the aging brain, in terms of memory, concentration, mental acuity. So the two together, you basically are getting them for, if we do the little pricing chart, for a 240 capsule supply, you're basically getting the two separate products combined. So it's really like getting 480 capsules of what are typically expensive ingredients for a little bit more than, I guess, about 13 or 14 cents each.
Which is fantastic. I mean, really, that's a fantastic value with the anniversary pricing that we have. So, Andrew, this is for anybody who might feel that constant fatigue.
Yeah, I always talk about CoQ10 when it comes to energy and fatigue, because that's how we produce energy on a daily basis. But if someone's reaching for coffee or caffeine too often, they're reaching for stimulants, I prefer the approach of ginseng, which isn't a stimulant, but it's referred to as an adaptogen. It just supports our systems to help us adapt to the stress and the challenges that we have, whether it's not getting adequate sleep, not having the ideal diet, whether it's just the worry and stress that is our world. And when you look at just even the political dialogue, and I always try to stay, my job is, I mean, I've always been someone politically who kind of has both feet in either side of the political aisle. I don't think there are many people like me anymore. It used to be that people crossed over a lot, but not so much anymore. So, but it just seems the quality, it's just the acrimony of the intensity of the political dialogue. It's okay to disagree with people. It doesn't mean they're bad people. So I just think that that's stressful. That much anger, that much acrimony is stressful. So we should do our best to to intellectually disagree, to have our own opinions, but to still move through life with some degree of peace and calm and poise. And that's what I think adaptogens are all about, helping us move through the world peacefully. There's no reason, the life and the world are challenging enough, there's no reason we should let it pretty much defeat us. We want to move through the world with poise and calm, and hopefully with a smile on our face.
Thank you for your orders on the Ginkgo. We love the fact that you're loving this. The time has come.
We rarely have talked about this. I think we featured it maybe once or twice on air the last few years.
And I can see the reaction on the